Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Erin, and today I am doing a get ready with me where I get this look right here. I am using the Cosmic Brushes Gothic palette and the Glaminatrix Rich Romantic palette. So these are the two palettes that I use to get this look right here. And during this chit-chatty get ready with me, I do talk about my beauty budget for 2024. I will have my spreadsheets linked down below so that you guys can also copy and paste those into your own spreadsheets and possibly use those to get organized for your budget for next year. But if you want to see how I get this look, this beautiful purple look, and if you want to hear my plans for my budget and also give me your feedback about what you think about my budget for next year, stick around because Barefaced Erin is coming in to go ahead and get this look. Good morning. Hopefully already done. Erin at the end of this video has remembered to do an intro, but I am barefaced and I'm going to be doing a get ready with me while going over my projected budget and spending for next year, while also doing an eye look with the Cosmic Brushes Gothic palette and the Glaminatrix Rich Romantic. These kind of came in neck and neck whenever I asked you guys what palette you wanted to see, so I figured I would build my look with this one and then use one of the sparkly shades out of this one. So let's go ahead, and I have my primer. This is the Hard Candy Sheer Envy Hydrating Grip. And I already have all my skincare on. I've let that sit in while I've been setting up my lights and my camera and everything. So we should be able to go straight in with this. Don't mind the double shirt this morning. It actually has decided to get cold here in Florida, so I have my thermal on this morning. But I'm going to go ahead and prep my foundation palette, and we'll go ahead and start putting on that first layer of my foundation while I talk about my budget. So on my palette, I have a mix of my e.l.f. Halo Glow and my Shiseido Light Reflecting. I also need to put something on my lips because they are dry this morning. This is just the Summer Fridays lip balm. It came in a FabFitFun right before it went viral. So comfortable. I have a brand new sponge from DSMD Shop. She actually did a restock on Thanksgiving, and I picked up some more sponges because she has been out of stock for almost a year now. So I'm hoping that she is kind of ramping back up production. If you have not heard of her brand or her sponges, hopefully she will restock and some of you will be able to get them. I will make sure to link as much as I can down below in the description box. I am still breaking out on my neck, and I'm trying to manage that with the products that my dermatologist recommended, but it is just something that seems like it is consistently happening. But for my budget next year, and I do have my Simple Human mirror right here, so if you see the light reflecting off of my chest, it is just because I have my light up mirror in front of me. But for my budget next year, I am upping the amount that I am putting into the savings account every paycheck. If this is your first time, I will make sure to link my budget videos or my buys and buys down in the description box, but I do a beauty budget, and mainly because I know a lot of people will do like the beauty rehabs where they do points, and using up a product allows you to bring in another product, but for me, I am more worried about the financial part, not about the amount of products that are coming into my collection. So if I used up the, $3 e.l.f. Wow Brow, I could give myself a point with their system, and with that point, I could buy a $125 palette. So that's where the actual point system wouldn't necessarily work for me because I do not have an unlimited budget to work with for my products. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll link my other Get Ready With Me, but the way that I do it is I put on one layer of foundation and then I do my eyes so that if I have to clean anything up, and I have an eyelash that is loose, if I have to clean anything up, then I am not working with a set base that then has fallout on it. So I usually let my first layer of foundation set while I am doing my eyes. And because this is a not full coverage foundation, it allows me to build it up as well. So I have my paint pot, so I'm going to prime my eyes. So in my other videos where I've talked about my budget, I've actually reviewed like past years, and I have gone over budget consistently. And, you know, some of that is I wanted to try maybe some more expensive brands, some indie brands with eyeshadow palettes, which typically are a little bit more expensive than mainstream. But I've consistently gone over budget, and so each year I've raised my budget, which for some people might not be the most conducive to shopping habits or financial goals. You know, if you are consistently going over what your threshold is, you don't move the goalpost. But for me, I feel like with inflation, it's kind of like I have to raise my beauty budget just to keep up with how much products are costing. And for me, financially, raising my beauty budget right now will not interfere with any other of my goals for my finances. So if you're starting to plan your beauty budget for next year, and sorry for flicking you guys off, but the middle finger is the easiest to use to tap out the creases. But if you're planning your beauty budget, then you have to look at your own finances and your own budget for the household and figure out what works best for you, because that is what I did for me. And raising my budget is what is best for me. Oh, and if you're new here, I have 4 German Shepherds, so I have locked them out of the room because my last video they tried to knock over my camera, but they're German Shepherds. They're going to bark at the wind. They're going to be playing. So if you hear puppy dog noises in the far background, it is just because that is what it's like owning German Shepherds. But I have no idea where I was with my thought process, because I had to go out and tell my husband that I'm filming, so maybe not roughhousing with the dogs so much. I am going to be using the Singe Beauty brushes. I'm not necessarily going to be saying like what brush I'm using, but she basically sells this in a bundle, and so if you are interested in the bundle, I'll link it down below. But I'm going to start with the Gothic palette. I'll probably end up popping up a graphic with what shade I am using, just because I want to be able to just talk and not constantly put the palette up here. So let me go ahead and see what I want to do. We'll start with this one over here. So, like I said, for me and my budget, that is what is going to work best, and it will not interfere with my other savings goals to increase my budget. So in 2023, I had a budget of $50 a paycheck, and I basically have a savings account that is attached to my regular like accounts with my bank, and I automatically, the day after my check hits, I have that $50 transfer automatically over to that savings account. And then whenever I make a purchase on my debit card or my credit card, then I just transfer that money right away over from my savings account. I try my best to not go into the negative and not go over, but again, with the way that products are costing more, I am trying to invest more into skincare that is actually going to do something for my skin. I am 39 years old, so I am trying to be more mindful of wrinkles, moisture, texture. You know, I still suffer from hormonal and whatever else acne, so I'm also very, very cautious about what I am bringing in, and so a lot of times skincare with better ingredients, they cost more money. So I definitely went over budget on my skincare this year, and that has helped me actually pick out what my budget for skincare needs to be next year. And so let me do this, because this shade right here is beautiful. So I'll probably put in some screen recordings also of my spreadsheets so that I can show you guys what I'm looking at. And also I will link to my Google Drive that I have copies of my spreadsheets in my Google Drive. A couple videos ago, I went over how I fill out my spreadsheets, and I do have those spreadsheets set up for 2024. Basically, if you guys go to the link, you can copy and paste the spreadsheets into your own, whatever spreadsheet program you are using. You can copy and paste it, and all the formulas are there for you. So in 2024, I am going to be having $75 a paycheck go into my beauty budget. So that would have a total budget for the year of $1,950. Something that I was mindful of also when creating that budget is that I am enjoying my YouTube channel. And so I do want to be able to bring in products that I can show on camera, that I can review, that I can tell you guys about. Because right now with my budget, I am basically being able to replace the everyday items and, my holy grails and the items that I'm going to need to use for the next year. Like, I was able to bring that in. So kind of like the necessities and then some fun things here and there. But I want to be able to bring in a few more fun things, and really I'm looking at my indie palettes for next year. So I do want to be trying more brands and be able to show a little bit more product reviews or eyeshadow reviews, things like that. And with my current budget, I don't feel like that is something that I can do just because indie palettes are more expensive. So on my spreadsheet, I do have my categories broken down, date of purchase, product, and then I broke my categories down even more this year because I want to be able to track things in those categories. I think I'm happy with where the mattes are. I'm going to try a shimmer in my outer corner here and see how we do. I might have to either wet this or put down a sticky base to really get the impact that I'm looking for, but let's see how we can do. And so I did break my categories down into makeup, skincare, palettes, because I want to not have palettes penalize my other budget that I am using to, again, restock on things that are holy grails, necessities, everyday use type of items. And so palettes, hair care, perfume, tools. And this year, 2023, perfumes and hair care did not count in my budget. And I think by the end of the year, I'm not anticipating buying any more hair care or perfumes, but I spent $25 on perfumes and like $107 on, let me see, where's my purchases for this year? $106 on hair care. So those are not problem categories for me. Those are not categories that I need to be mindful about what I am purchasing. So those I am not worried about. I don't need to keep track of those. I don't need those to be in my budget. So, and I put tools down because I think that I also looked up, I only spent like $80-something in 2023 on tools, and that was basically buying more sponges and then buying this brush set. So I also don't think that the tools should go against my budget because it's not a category that I am overspending in. So with that being said, I'll scroll up, and the sponges that I did buy on Thanksgiving from DSMD Shop, I am including those in my budget next year. And that is mainly because, I don't know if I'm like tricking myself into thinking, oh, those don't count. But, if I am going forward with the idea that tools don't count because I need to replace sponges, you can't be using old dirty sponges that have all that bacteria in them. I'm not going to penalize myself this year for buying sponges that are relatively inexpensive and that will last me and hopefully help my skin, because I'm not having all of that bacteria in those old sponges. So I put the sponges that I bought on the list now. Something that I was thinking about last night was, you know, if I know that I use, and I'm going in with some glitter primer, if I know that I use, you know, 3 of the Ava NYC therapy masks a year, do I just buy 3 of them whenever they're on sale? Do I stock up for the year on items like that? I guess kind of, you know, I'd have to be like, okay, I have to store them, but I have to say, do I stock up on those items and get them on sale instead of, you know, maybe having to purchase them full price if I run out and need to restock? I guess you guys can tell me your thoughts down below about how I should treat that. You know, do you have kind of those items that you're going to consistently go through, and do you just stock up whenever they're on sale? What do you guys end up doing? But I'm trying to see which one I want to use. I'm looking at Captivating and Rich because everything else has a green flip to it. And as much as I love a purple and green look, I don't really want to do a purple and green look. So let me go into Rich and see. I mean, look at that shade. It is just so reflective. It has a little bit more of a blue flip, so like a pink to a subtle green to a blue, and so that I love. And because I have little eyes and I can't get into my inner corners, we'll pick it up on a brush and get it in there. All right, I'm going to keep the eyes there for a little while, and I will touch up a little bit and do my lower lash line once I have the rest of my makeup on. But let me pull out my other items that I'm going to need. I've also enjoyed using my paint pot as a little bit of a color corrector on my spots that are coming through. They just tone it down just a little bit. So how I have decided to break down my budget is I ended up putting $550 in my skincare budget, because by the end of 2023, I will end up having spent $502 on skincare. So obviously I am needing that extra padding as far as in my budget in my skincare, because I am purchasing either more expensive products or products more frequently, because I am being mindful of using my actives. I did take, you know, everybody's advice and not include my prescription or my doctor recommended items into my budget. And so like the Differin gel will not be included in my budget, so that I'm not worried about anything that is prescription. Anything that my dermatologist recommends is not counting against my budget. Goodness, the lights are very forgiving because the texture on my skin today is not looking very good. I've been dealing with some texture issues, even though my dermatologist said that the texture of my skin looks good. And I know that, like, we have pores, we have texture, I get it, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm expecting out of my skin. And maybe it is a little bit of the dewier foundation. I'm almost kind of questioning whether or not the Hard Candy primer and this foundation don't like each other. So I am considering trying one of my e.l.f. primers with this foundation just to see if it ends up improving the texture a little bit. So $550 for my skincare budget. I did put a budget of $400 for palettes. Now, I have already exceeded in 2023. I have bought more than $400 worth of palettes out of my budget. But I think that if I set aside $400 for palettes, that will kind of allow me to have some leeway, allow me to, you know, pick some more expensive palettes. And that's almost kind of, I don't want to say free money. I kept going back and forth about what to do about palettes. I was thinking about doing like, I could have, you know, 6 palettes a year that don't count towards my budget. But then I think that that's, again, kind of cheating out of my mindset about being financially aware about what I'm bringing in. Because if I take my 6 most expensive palettes and write them off for the year, that's not going to help my mindset. That will just allow me to go hog wild and spend a bunch of money on palettes because I know that I get to not count them in my budget. So I'm going to set aside the $400 for palettes, and then if I end up purchasing more than that, then that budget does have to come out of another area. That is not, you know, I have to be mindful that that budget has to stick to $400, or, and I'm bouncing all over because I'm trying to think this through. I'm still trying, I think this is going to be a little bit of a work in progress, but even with the $400, I want to be mindful of the amount of palettes I'm bringing in. I'm already hitting a little bit of capacity on what I'm storing, so I don't want to give myself a big budget for palettes, or, you know, take a bunch of money from my other sections just to fill and bring in more and more and more, because I'm at the point where I'm doing a no pan left behind for the year, and I'm like down to the wire trying to figure out, am I going to be able to use all of my shadows in one year? And if I'm not using all of my shadows in one year, then what is the point of me having that many palettes? That would make me want to reconsider my palette collection, you know, declutter things that are older that I can get rid of. But I don't want to have so many palettes that I can't use them up in a year. So even when I'm selecting my palette purchases for next year, I think that being mindful of how many shades come in them, what the color stories are, if I would use all the shades. There's been a couple palettes that have been coming out recently, and there's one that is the Ensley Rain. Like it has like the fairy and the castle and stuff on it, and it's a big palette, but a lot of it is pastels and greens and blues, and like the color story just speaks to me. Like I want to live in that color story, but I know that I'm not going to be using all those pastels because it's taken me all year just to use my Natasha Denona pastel palette. So why would I spend close to $90 on a palette that I'm not going to end up using more than half the shades? So I think that it's also being honest with myself that while I want to try some of these brands, I need to wait for the thing that works best for me. So constraining myself to $400 a year on palettes, I think that will help me make the best decisions. With the $400 for palettes, the $550 for skincare, that leaves me $1,000 for my other makeup purchases. And that, to me, that number still feels big. And, you know, I've not been rouge at Sephora for the past 2 years. I was platinum, whatever the highest one in Ulta. I've been there once. And that was mainly because we were restocking on like my husband's favorite colognes and things like that. So those rack up really, really high, which I'm actually buying him a replacement for his cologne for Christmas, and that's going to end up putting me over a tier at Sephora. It's not going to get me rouge, but it'll get me to stay at VIB with buying his cologne. And so like those purchases, again, that's a gift. It doesn't come out of my inventory, but I want to be mindful of how much I'm bringing in, how much I'm spending, because like I said, that $1,000, I still look at that and I'm like, how is $1,000 you know, being used up, coming in beauty items. But I do want to try some different things. Like, I haven't purchased a new highlighter in like 2 years. I'm looking at different things that I want to try, and I'm having to tell myself no because your budget does not afford it. Not necessarily that my collection can't support it or my uses can't support bringing in a new product, but it is literally because my budget. And I am in a place where I'm relatively I don't want to be comfortable with my finances because I think that we can always live a little bit more below our means. But I am in a place where, you know, purchasing some newer things here or there is not going to prevent me and my family and my dogs from eating. And again, none of this is about bragging. Everybody is in their own situations. And quite frankly, you know, I've worked my tail off to get to the point where I am comfortable, and not only working my tail off, you know, education-wise to get into the career that I'm comfortable with, but also mindset-wise. I've worked my tail off mindset-wise to not consistently buy so that I can stretch my budget. So those are the pieces that I'm trying to be mindful about. I am also being very aware about my spending habits right now during Black Friday, and there's been some purchases that I've made that not regretful purchases, but it's like, okay, if I don't stock up on this Holy Grail product now, then even more is going to be coming out of my budget next year. So there are some things where I have overspent this month, but I think even being aware that October and November are going to be my biggest spend months, I have to prepare for that. I have to tell myself that no, you can't purchase a bunch of stuff up front at the beginning of the year, because you do have to have some of your budget reserved for the end of the year when I do stock up for, you know, the next year of use. I'm back in the Glaminatrix palette, going to do some lower lash line. There is quite a bit of kick up in the Glaminatrix mattes, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but just something that I've noticed, that the formula is very soft, which does make it blendable, but also if you don't tap off your brush, it causes that fallout. And I am going loud with this purple look today, and the only thing that we're doing is we're going to get our haircuts today. So I hope my hairstylist enjoys this look that I have put together. So I'm going to leave the eyes there for right now. I might go in and blend a little bit more after I have some of my cheek products on, but that's where we're going to leave that. So I guess I'll open a little bit up to you guys of how are you doing your budget in 2024, or how did you do on your budget in 2023? How did you do with Black Friday shopping and kind of getting the things on deals? I was upset about a few things that didn't either come up on deals or brands not allowing you to use discounts on sets of things. Like, I get it, most sets are already discounted, but if I can get a set of products and things that I will consistently use, then I am interested in that. But there was a couple brands that I wanted sets from that they did not put the sets on sale. And I am still looking forward to, hopefully Sephora does like a one-time 20% off for everybody in early December. I'm looking forward to them doing that because I am going to pick up my husband's cologne during that time. so that he will be stocked on his fragrance for the year. And I end up purchasing him the Dior Fahrenheit. It is just such a warm and kind of like cozy, sexy smell, and I just love how it smells on him. So that is, he puts me in charge of his cologne because he says, hey, you have to smell me, so whatever you think smells good on me, just go ahead and buy that. So that is what we do for fragrances every year. And I've mentioned a couple times that my husband served in the military, and so we do have base access, and the military bases do carry some high-end makeup products and brands, and they do carry fragrance, but the two bases that are by us, they don't carry the Dior Fahrenheit anymore. They used to, and they carry the other Dior fragrances, but they do not carry the Fahrenheit. And really the only benefit of buying things on base is that you don't pay taxes. So in Florida we have like 7% sales tax, and then whatever else is like the county tax on top of that. And so, you know, if you're getting 7-8% off of not paying taxes, then that's kind of like getting it on sale. And I'm taking my blush. So this is my Ofra Chicklet blush that I repressed into here. And I usually take my blush and use that to blend out my eye look. And I think that it just pulls the cheeks and the eyes together perfectly. And I really do love this color for adding that pop of kind of like a peekaboo of color that isn't as bold and bright as actual eyeshadow. I like to kind of do that, and then I like to connect my outer V to my temples with blush. That's the way that I like to do it. All right, I am going to spray my face down, and then we'll move on to some other stuff, and I'm probably just going to chit chat for the rest of the video. So a little bit of a puppy update. Mr. Wash is doing so well. We have pretty much gotten to the point of, you know, potty training with him. We have not, knock on wood, we've not had any accidents in the house in the past 2 days. Of course, it does help that both my husband and I work from home so that we are able to be here and kind of like watch him. Today, whenever we go into town to get our hair cut, we do have to put him in the crate, which breaks my heart because he still hasn't realized that the crate can be a wonderful thing for him. So we're trying to teach him, because our other dogs, as soon as we set the crate up for the puppy, our other dogs like just went in there and laid down and went to sleep, because they knew from the times that they were in their crates that that was a place that they could go and rest. They could get away from the other dogs. That was their little den. But he still thinks that the crate is a torture device. So even though we have, you know, toys, food, water, comfy beds and blankets in there for him, and of course, you know, his siblings do come and lay by the crate and just kind of console him, but he still does not prefer that. He wants to be with us and touching us and on us all the time. So that poor guy, I'm hoping that soon he realizes that the crate is actually a nice place for him to be and that he doesn't have to be in it all the time. But he has been such a little joy, and he thinks he is a little helper. I was doing some yard work because it is cooling down. And as I was like trimming back, you know, branches and getting all the dead branches, you know, out of the trees so I could do a bonfire with them, he was like carrying and pulling branches around for me. He was just the cutest thing trying to help. So he has been an absolute joy so far. I put some nude liner in my waterline because nobody wants to see me pull down on my eyes. But going back to some Black Friday shopping, if you've been around for a little while, you know that probably 2 months ago or so, our dog, Mr. Jane, he got extremely sick while he was in my office. And it was to the point where I basically just had to pull up the carpet in my office because there was no saving it. The carpet was already, The carpet was already 13 years old, and so it needed to go. So, but I have had just the concrete slab foundation as my floor in my office, and it's not good for our old guy's elbows. It wasn't good for sound, and so over Black Friday, I knew that I wanted to get another one of the ruggable carpets. And so if you've not heard of them, but they're basically rugs that you can pull up and put in the wash machine and wash. And we have 3 other ruggables around the house, and being able to pull up rugs and like once a month or whenever they get dirty or whenever the dogs have accidents or whatever, being able to pull those up and just throw them in the wash machine has been amazing. So I did go ahead and I got one for my office. I got a really pretty floral, I'll see if I'll pop up a graphic, but I got a floral Minnie Mouse one. I am a lover of Disney, and when we lived in Central Florida, we did have season passes and we went all the time. Now that we live further away and we have 4 big dogs, it's really hard for us to be able to travel and break away and go to Disney. So I do miss it, but I know we'll be able to go back sometime soon. But I do love my Disney. Actually, that print up there, where's my hand? That print back over there, that print is for Fantasia 2000. And then I have an Alice in Wonderland print there. I have another piece of art around the corner that my husband got customized for me with some Disney princesses. He goes to all the conventions, and so there's a lot of artists there that are either current or past Disney artists, and so they, sell custom pieces. So I have that. Let's see. I have Star Wars, Fantasia, Star Wars, Beauty and the Beast. Let's see. I actually do have a print that is like the outline of the state of Florida, and it has all of the characters, like signatures inside of it. And then what else do I have? More Star Wars, some Pride and Prejudice, some Marvel. And then also I have a sign that my husband got me a couple Christmases ago that it says, in this house, we let it go because Hakuna Matata and the bare necessities will always be your guide. To infinity and beyond, all it takes is faith, trust, and a little bit of pixie dust. While we just keep swimming, we whistle while we work. We believe in happy endings, and we know that life is always better under the sea, because in this house, we do Disney. So he got that for me a couple Christmases ago, and I absolutely love it. Being born in the early 80s, we grew up with, I kind of feel like, the best of Disney. My favorite movie growing up was Lion King. That was the first movie that I bought for myself with my own money, with my own allowance. My mom lived about 10 blocks from a Publix, and so I walked down to Publix with my little allowance money, and I bought myself the VHS of Lion King, and I wore that thing out. Another fun memory, and I was actually just thinking about this, that I think it was like 1994 when 101 Dalmatians came out, and it came out on Thanksgiving Day, and we were visiting with my aunt and uncle. They also live in Florida, but they're on the other coast, and so we were visiting. And I remember begging my mom, look at this, I'm getting mascara all over, but we can clean that up. I begged my mom to take me to see 101 Dalmatians on Thanksgiving Day. So while my aunt was cooking for Thanksgiving, my mom took me down to the movie theater and I got to watch 101 Dalmatians when it released on Thanksgiving Day. So lots of fond memories of Disney stuff. And even the new movies that are coming out, like I love Inside Out, I love Ratatouille, Moana makes me cry like a baby every single time. And so I am loving the new stuff that they are coming out with as well. I'm going to throw on some lip liner and then we can do lips and then I am done. Which, look how little this nub is getting. Can I finish it before the end of the year? Do you guys have faith? I have some faith. I'm going to use the new NARS lip product that I ended up getting in my FabFitFun, which I'll link that video, but just a very comfortable matte formula. And with it being this cool toned, I think it goes pretty well. Well, I still got you guys here. I'm going to use some of my hairline powder, and I do like to take a little bit of it in my brows to fill in some space where I have a little bit of sparseness with my brow hairs. And I need to dye my hair desperately, and I'm curious what my hairdresser stylist is going to say. She's going to be like, girl, you need to handle your stuff. But I have just been so busy, and because the weather is cooling down, I'm doing so much stuff outside that anytime that my hair is clean, then pretty much I'm getting it dirty working outside. So maybe this weekend I will try to have a day where my hair is clean and dry so that I can go ahead and touch up my roots. But in the meantime, that is why I have my root powder. I don't know if I've ever done this on camera, of just taking a big old fluffy brush that I would never use for eyeshadow, and I basically just stamp that in my hairline. So while I'm doing this, what is your favorite Disney memory as a kid? You know, is it a particular movie? Is it actually going to the parks? I know I was just obsessed with the princesses whenever I was growing up. I loved Little Mermaid and Ariel, and I thought that Belle was so cool. Oh, Milan. Loved Milan. She is a badass. So, loved watching that one. I was a little bit of a, even though I loved the princesses, I was a little bit of a tomboy growing up. Oh, the puppies are playing. Which we got the puppy to be able to play with our 3-year-old female so that she would leave our old boys alone, and it has gone so well. They play, they run around, they wrestle, and at the end of the night, both of them are so tired they're just passing out, and it has allowed our older guys to just relax and play whenever they want to and not feel like they're being pressured into playing all the time. And so the last thing that I have to do here is put on this gloss. And that is our final look. Let me bronze up my chest a little bit because I am pale, but look how shiny I am. Look at that glow. That is skincare, my friend. That is me slathering myself with skincare. So I'm not worried about getting bronzer on this top because, again, this is just a sleep shirt, but I take my darker e.l.f. and since I can't see in my mirror, I will try to see in my viewfinder, which it's backwards, so that's not helping me at all. But I just go and blend this out. Might as well do it without even looking, because trying to look in your monitors when everything is backwards does not help. There, that's better. Now my chest matches my face a little bit more. And again, it covers up my redness, so I am still loving this, loving the tone, loving the shade, loving the kind of coverage and glow that it gives me. So with this being the final look, let me go put down my hair and put on another shirt that isn't pajamas, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, I am back. I have on my purple flannel because it is chilly out today, and this is my final look with the Cosmic Brushes Gothic palette and the Glaminatrix Rich Romantic palette. And both of these are beautiful formulas, beautiful palettes. I love the looks that I'm getting out of them, and so I am very happy with these two purchases, and I'm excited to see what these brands are going to come out with in 2024, especially Cosmic Brushes, because their stuff is so affordable that my $400 palette budget would go a very long way with that brand. But I hope that you enjoyed this Get Ready With Me today, where I talked about my beauty budget and, dogs and Disney, all the things that matter in somebody's life. But you guys will have to tell me what you're doing with your budget next year. How does your spending? I know a lot of you guys that have been watching my conscious consumerism type content have been telling me that low buys and no buys are in the future for you next year. And so I want to wish all of you guys Godspeed and the best of luck with your budgets and with your no buys next year. I can't wait to hear how everybody is doing with their purchasing goals next year. But again, mine are going up because I want to try more things. Things are costing more these days, and I want to be able to bring some additional content out to you guys. I'm in no way, shape, or form going to blow my budget out of the water and get back into the mindset of just purchasing everything, because anything that comes into my collection still has to be intentional. So don't worry about me going crazy next year with purchasing. I still am staying within my goals, my budget, and my mindset. But I'm going to go ahead and eat some breakfast and get ready to drive over an hour into town to get my hair cut. But I really do appreciate all of you guys being here. I love our conversations down in the comment section, so do all the things. Hit that thumbs up button. Let me know how you guys are doing, or any of your thoughts, feedback with what my budget is going to look like next year. Don't forget to subscribe for more beauty, makeup, panning, conscious consumerism, chit chat, dogs, that kind of content. Make sure that you guys are subscribed and sticking around for more. I do have a ton of videos planned for December with a bunch of wrap-ups and inventories and all of that. But I hope that each of you has a beautiful day, and I will catch you in my next one.